Good afternoon. Today is Monday, April 4, and we're going over the fourth of five IXL skills that we're going to bundle up into our second test. So the IXL skill we're going to go over is polynomial synthetic division. So this was something that we did early on in the semester. People struggled with it to some extent. Those who mastered it did a good job, but some of you have still had a problem with it. So I want to go back over it because it's something that you're going to be using as you move forward. So here we're going to use synthetic division to find, in this case, this polynomial is x squared minus 10x plus 21, to find out what its quotient would be if we divided it by x minus 3. And what I'm going to do is go through all the different parts of synthetic division and give names to these different things. So this polynomial has a special name, as does this one here. And we end up with an answer that is called a quotient, and it's shown as q to the x, plus a remainder, and the remainder is some integer, some number, divided by the divisor, and the divisor is x minus 3. So we're going to try to go through this. I'm going to go through it fairly slowly, and I'm going to try to explain it I've got a lot of steps with this just because that's what synthetic division has to it. But I've written out most of this ahead of time because it gives me more time to sort of explain as we go. Remember, you can stop and start this, you can rewind, you can slow it down if you want. It is something that you can go back to again and again until you understand it. All right. So you're going to be able to divide polynomials using synthetic division. And here's the synthetic division rule. Synthetic division is a way to divide a polynomial called the dividend. So this polynomial, x squared minus 10x plus 21, is the dividend, the thing being divided, by a polynomial of the form of x minus 3. X minus c, called the divisor. So this is the dividend. It's being divided by the divisor, or if you will, the divider, if that helps you to think of it that way. Okay? And the result of the division is a polynomial called the quotient. Okay, so that's the answer. And then a lot of times there is a remainder, but sometimes there isn't. So a remainder, again, is whatever is left over after you do the division of the dividend, and if you have that, then that's going to be the remainder divided by the actual divisor. So that's what you're doing here with this. And there is an alternative method to this, and it's called polynomial long division. When you go through this skill set, you will see that's one of the first things at the bottom that you can go to. If you don't understand this, you can go back and look at polynomial long division by clicking the tab that's at the bottom that says go back and look at polynomial long division. All right, so if you need to, again, use a sheet of paper covered in plastic so that you can write whatever you need on the sheet and erase it as many times as you need to. And since we're doing polynomial long division with a lot of steps to it, something like this is really great to have. So I would use this, and you can erase it as you go and change and modify. Go back, stop and start the video, and get to a finished product on this. Compare it to the video, make sure you're comfortable with it, and then you know where to go. All right. So now we go to the first problem. So in this case, it's 6x squared and minus 21x minus 12. So we're going to take this and we're going to divide by x minus 4. All right, so we're going to write the answer in the form of the quotient, which is basically the whole number answer, if you will, plus some fractional remainder, which is divided by the divisor. Okay, that's what d of x is, the divisor, and r is the remainder, and then q of x is the quotient. So they say q of x also is a polynomial, and it is, because when you divide the dividend by the divisor, you get a polynomial, which is your quotient, and also usually a remainder, or maybe not. Okay, so we're going to simplify any fractions, just so you know. And so obviously this fraction, which is the remainder, that's really what we're talking about when we say we're going to simplify it. All right, so now we go through the different parts of this polynomial, and it's, and it's being divided. So here's the original polynomial called the dividend. Here's the linear factor that you are dividing by, and it's the divisor, okay? And since it has the form of x minus c, so this is like x minus c, if I were to make that equal to 0, then c would equal 4, okay? So now let's follow the steps for polynomial synthetic divisions. The first step is to write the root of the divisor. So if I solve, if I take x minus 4 and I solve for 0, or solve for 0, right, then I'm adding 4 to both sides, and so I would get x equals 4, and 4 is the root of the divisor. And obviously that's what x is when y equals 0, because we set x minus 4 to equal 0 whenever we're doing factors. All right, so you're going to write the root of the divisor. We just talked about the root, and the coefficients of the dividend. So the dividend here has numbers in front of x squared and x, and then the last number is all by itself. Those numbers are coefficients of the dividend. So we're going to write those all in the same line, but the root is going to be separated from the rest of the coefficients by what we call a corner symbol. So I'll show you what that is, and then you're going to say, oh, okay, I understand. So here is the root of the divisor, x minus c equals, we said, going back on this, c equals 4, so x minus 4 equals 0, all right? So the root is 4, so c equals 4. And the coefficients are 6, negative 21, and negative 12, okay? So I've rewritten the polynomial, the dividend, and then what I did was I took the 6 and I moved it down. I took the negative 21 and I moved it down, and I took the negative 12 and moved it down. And then I created this box over here. And I put the divisor, which is 4, and I put it over here. Okay, so that's the very first thing that you do. Now, the only other thing I'm going to say to you is sometimes you get a polynomial up here, a divisor, that's missing a degree. So let's say I had 3x cubed minus 4x plus 12. So I would have, first of all, a 3 in the x cubed category, but I don't have a squared, so I'm going to put 0x squared minus 4x plus 12, and then I bring down a 3, I bring down a 0, I bring down a negative 4, and I bring down a 12. So if you're missing a degree, in this case something squared, you have to show it as 0 because you're taking all the coefficients, and 0 is the coefficient for that. But here we don't have that, so you don't have to really worry about that. That's just an aside to remember, because you are going to get problems like this as you move on. All right, so go back and look at this if you need to, if you're stuck. Okay, so now we're going to bring down the first coefficient. That's step 2. So I bring the 6 down. It's going to go down here below the line. Simple enough. Then step 3, I'm going to multiply the rightmost number on the bottom row, that's 6, by the root, that's 4, and write the product under the next coefficient. So that'll be under negative 21. So here I'm going to show that to you. So we actually went ahead and did that. And so then we're going to add the terms in that column and repeat this process until all columns are filled. So here is the actual happening of this. So the rightmost number on the bottom row is 6. So you're bringing that 6 down. And the root is 4, so their product, 4 times 6, is 24. So we're telling it to you right here, and we're showing it to you with arrows. You're going to write 24 underneath the second coefficient. That's what I did here. Then you're going to add, and negative 21 plus 24 is 3. Okay? So the rightmost number on the bottom row is 3, and the root is 4. So their product, 3 times 4, is going to be 12, and I'm going to write that underneath the next coefficient. So I'm going to go to the next page to show you that. All right. So again, I'll just bring this arrow down just so you remember that that's how it starts. So we bring 4 times 3 is 12, and then we add together negative 12 and positive 12. Of course, that leaves us with a remainder of 0. So now we identify the quotient and the remainder. The quotient would be the numbers to the left of the line on the bottom row, 6 and 3. Okay, that's the coefficients of the quotient, and that's what this says, written in order of descending degrees. So if you remember, this was 6x squared minus 21x minus 12. So when I bring this down, I've got, if you'll notice down here, they've written 6x, or I've written 6x plus 3. Well, this was x squared originally. Now the 6 they were showed as x. So the reason is the quotient always starts with an x term, not a squared term. Well, I should take that back. It starts with an x term. So this has an x squared, but it could also be an x. Since the dividend starts with an x squared term, though, you drop a degree. The degree is 1 less than what it had been before. So we're going to end up with this 6x squared becoming 6x, and the 3 here just being like the third term here. It's going to be, and this is plus 3, it's going to be the well, it's going to be the number that does not have terms on the right. It doesn't have an x at all. So this is a linear binomial. Is what you end up with. Okay, so I went on to state that, just finishing the thought, the degree of the quotient is 1 less than the degree of the dividend because the degree of the divisor is 1. Okay? The degree of the divisor is 1. All right. So the number to the right of the line on the bottom row is 0, and that is going to be your remainder. So this 0 is going to be the remainder. Okay. So now we're going to write the result out. So you know the quotient, which is the end polynomial answer. So we call this q of x is 6x plus 3, which I had written down here previously on the previous page. So 6x plus 3, 6x plus 3. And the remainder is 0. So r equals 0. Remainder equals 0. And the divisor, what we originally divided by, is x minus 4. Now we're going to write the answer in this form. So this is q of x. I'll extend my q here a little bit. Q of x, or the quotient, plus the remainder, which is the remainder divided by the divisor, x minus 4. So here's the original problem. Here's the dividend. Here is the divisor. Okay. Here is the quotient. So this is the quotient. So that's q of x right here. And then this is the remainder of 0, which is divided by the divisor, x minus 4. Okay, that's what we divided by. And so when you simplify, of course, this is anything, 0 over anything is 0. So your answer is 6x plus 3. So you have a linear factor here. And you could figure out what x is when y equals 0 if you just set this to equal 0 and then simplify. But that's not part of what we're doing here. This is as far as you need to go. Okay, so I want you to take this now and I want you to go through and work these. This is the fourth of 5 skills. One more skill, and then we take the test. And remember, well, we don't take the test, we average the scores. So I'm going to be doing the 5th skill tomorrow, but you must have everything done, all 5 skills done by Friday, because that's the day that I'm actually going to average the scores. And then next week and up through the 18th, we will be working on the last 5 skills, and we're going to average those scores, and then we're basically done. So we're getting there. We've got a lot of work to do. I'm noticing some people are working hard. I know a lot of you decided not to go further. But for those of you who wanted to improve your score, I really, 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 really hope you go through and do these so that you can improve your score. All right? Okay. Take care, and do remember that your second semester score will not be less than your third quarter score. So I may have to go back and make some adjustments. Your grade may have dropped temporarily, depending upon what you do. But do not be afraid to do these. Try them. Because even if you do miserably on this, you'll have tried. And you may never know, you might improve that score. And that's what you're trying to do here. So please, don't give up. You can do this. Take care and try. All right. So I'm going to let you go with that. And I hope you have a great afternoon. And we're going to go ahead and upload this and get it out to you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye now.